So we are just really at the beginning of day 12 of Walk the Yorke. We've had a bit of a slow start this morning, intentionally. We had a really lovely stay last night in Marion Bay, and we utilised our hotel room to the full potential and left at sort of check out at 10 o'clock this morning. We stopped by the Marion Bay caravan park to dry some of our socks and gaiters and so forth in their dryer, which they were very kind to allow us to do. And then we've started out on the trail quite late at about 11 a.m. and a short walk through the outskirts of Marion Bay, and then a mercifully short beach walk on very soft sand. And now we are in the incredibly beautiful Innes National Park, where we'll be walking for the next couple of days. Okay, so we are at the end of day 12 of Walk the Yorke. We are at the Pondalowie Campsite in the Innes National Park. Bit of drama, not the high point of my hiking career. I organised all of the campsites for our trip, and for the majority of them, well, I thought for all of them, but for the majority of them, you just get a permit from the council that covers you for all of the campsites. So you can get one for one night, or you can get them for a week. Anyway, I got a month because it was the most cost-effective way of doing it, and I knew would cover us for the whole time we were going to be out here without any questions. So I bought that ages ago online, downloaded it on my phone so I could show it to any rangers or council workers who might ask. Anyway, so we get to Pondalowie Campsite tonight, and it's a camper trailer, designated sites for large vehicles, for caravans and camper trailers. And I'm wandering around, and we get to the sign for the campsite, and it says that you have to book online. We can't book online because no internet. And it's obviously completely separate to the Yorke Peninsula camping permit, which I didn't know. Anyway, there was a number to call the duty ranger, so we did that and threw ourselves upon his mercy. And he basically said, look, hang out until sort of the sun goes down or is going down, and if nobody takes one of the empty campsites, then just pitch there. So we agreed to do that and to pay retrospectively when we had internet access for the campsite. So we agreed to do that and sort of selected one of the designated campsites, but totally impossible to pitch a tent in there because it's like not just gravelly but just full of rocks, and like it just would have been impossible. So we found a spot sort of across the road and over the fence to wild camp, and you know, we weren't trying to hide from anyone, we just were pitching our tent in the only place it was actually possible for us to pitch our tent. And not long later, a ute pulls up with a young ranger in it, not the guy that we'd spoken to, who was kind of quite gruff and you can't camp here, and we explained the situation to him and he was absolutely delightful about it. He said, you know, he couldn't tell us to stay, but that we could stay, but he wasn't going to move us on because it was so late, and you know, basically for our safety he was not going to turn a blind eye, but he was going to acknowledge that at that point it was not wise to try and move us on from where we'd pitched our tent. And we promised that we would pay retrospectively for a campsite that we actually haven't used, which we will do, so that's not an issue. I also somehow seem to have miscalculated some of the distances between waypoints on gut hooks. I really don't know how I did that. Maths is not my strong suit. I will be more careful in future. It's not a huge issue. It actually means that we're ahead of schedule, so that's fine. We just have to rejig a few things because there was a lot less distance between Pondalowie, where we are now, and where we started out at Marion Bay that I thought we would be here tomorrow night, not tonight. Anyway, so we're here, and yeah, a little bit of drama, and had to beg and borrow some water again, but we're here and it's all good. And it's Mark's 52nd birthday, and we had cold quinoa and Loma Linda mock duck curry out of a bag, and it was absolutely delicious. Anyway, so we're settling in for the night. Just quick reflections from the day today. Absolutely beautiful day, hot, and we are now in the park and away from the coast, so without the sea breeze. And I don't know about Mark, he might want to chime in, but for me, in the 12 days that we've been out on the trail, today was the first day I was uncomfortably hot while hiking, and I was really quite uncomfortably hot for a period of time. So we might have to rethink some of our hiking strategy if we're going to have hot days like we did today. For me, I think the best practice is to break camp super early and get a heap of kilometres under our belt before the heat of the day, then take a really big, long, shady, watery break in the middle of the day, and then maybe hike on a few kilometres more as it cools down. So for example, this afternoon when we were doing the last of our walk, although I was tired and a bit over it by then, because we ended up hiking about almost 26 kilometres today, I think, when we were doing the last bit of the hike, which was, you know, sort of between 4 and 5:45 when we rocked up here, that was much more comfortable. Like I didn't have sweat dripping down my back like I did earlier in the day. So that's obviously something we'll need to think about a bit more. We haven't had to until now, so we've been pretty lucky with the weather. The park here, the Innes National Park, is absolutely beautiful. Really great to have some different terrain, although we have loved the terrain that we've come through. We haven't loved hiking through some of it at times, but we've loved the terrain and the scenery. It's been glorious. But yeah, very different, sort of very flat, scrubby when we first came into the park, and then, you know, building up to much higher sort of scrub and sort of mallee bushland, and apparently there are lots of malleefowl in the park. Mark think he saw one or two. I didn't see any. I don't move that quickly. However, we did see emus, lots and lots of emus. And this morning, as we walked into the park, I asked the universe for baby emus, and I was given baby emus in abundance. And I can't even begin to tell you how incredibly magical that was. I've never seen emu chicks, a clutch of emu chicks in the wild like that. We literally came round the corner, and I had just been saying to Mark, I want to see baby emus, I want to see baby emus. And I heard this kind of intake of breath, and I thought, oh my God, he's seen something, it's like something bad. And he was like, oh honey, baby emus. And I was like, no way. And I came around the corner, and there was like a big water tank, and there was a mother and a clutch of 6 of the most divine little babies. Obviously there was some leakage of water or something at the base. Anyway, they were pecking around it, obviously for water, or maybe because it's a water source, there were lots of insects there. Anyway, they were there, and Mum was conscious of our presence and a bit wary and protective, like keeping an eye on us, but not overly concerned at all. And we took some photos. I didn't get any footage because I was actually just too overcome by the joy of baby emus to think about the camera at that point. Mark did take some photos. And then later in the day, as we were actually coming towards the end of the day, we came right off an access road in the park to a sort of a bush track, which turns out is in fact a highway for emus, because we hadn't walked but a few feet down the path when we were met by a mother emu and another clutch of babies. And we kind of moved to one side, and she was not going to go past us, so we kind of walked slowly out and back out onto the access road and a few feet back so that she could come through with the babies. And she kind of waited for a minute, and then she came through and they went dashing across the road, and I managed to get a few photos at that point, but again, no footage. Hopefully I won't be so overcome by baby emu love. If I see more baby emus, I'll actually be able to get some footage of them, because they're just the most gorgeous creatures, and it's an incredible privilege to see them in the wild. It was just absolutely magical. We heard a roo. We didn't see any roos today, but we startled a roo who went kind of thundering through the undergrowth. But yeah, and we believe that we discovered a lot of emu poo. Maybe I'll discuss that more in another video. But anyway, so we're going to head to bed now. The sun's going down. It's a little after 8:30. And we had a late start, and we've had quite a long day, so yeah, gonna get some sleep and get up tomorrow. And I think going beyond Jim Beach, which is the last kind of campsite in Innes National Park, tomorrow, and onto Formby Base Shelter, which is back by the coast and out of the park. It's about a little over 26 kilometre hike. Who knows, we might get to Jim Beach and decide that we're over it and we're footsore and have a short day. But every time we say that, we're like, no, let's walk on, and then maybe we regret it a few kilometres later, but that's how we roll. So anyway, we'll see what happens tomorrow.